Welcome back. You're watching Uongozi Today. And on this other side of the break, we're talking about transformative, situational, and transactional leaders. This is Uongozi Today. And I think on my screen, and what we have is a bit different. We were looking at Lazarus Chakwera, who is the president of Malawi. And the issue that we took before we took a short break was the fact that the people of Malawi, the young people of Malawi, they wanted a leader who will transform that country. Maybe director may just come back to me. And they went to Lazarus Chakwera. They asked him that we've taken a scope of all the leaders that we have in the country, and we think you are the man that can transform this country from the Watergate scandal that we've had in Malawi. You are the man who can break us away from the barnacles of corruption in this country. You are the man who can take this country to another plane and plateau that we've never been. You are the man that has an ethical, predicated background that is also grounded with philosophy and also theology at the end of the day. Is he bringing a difference? Are Kenyans seeking for that particular man who is not just a leader, but is a philosophical leader? And I think this is what we're putting on the table. We were on you, Professor.
Yes, I think the Kenyans are looking for that man, and to get that man, I was explaining, they have to stop loving their leaders. That is an extremely dangerous concept, because by you loving the leader, he does not make the leader love you. They need to look for a leader who loves Kenyans, not the leader the Kenyans love. You know, there is an advice we get here where I come from about marriage. If you want your marriage to last, you don't marry the woman you love. You marry the woman who loves you. Okay? That marriage will last because that woman loves you, not you loving her. So we have this madness of loving these leaders. They don't love us. They become exploitative. The colonial mindset weighs in. And when they come in, self-aggrandizement. The idea of you being remembered 100 years after you are gone from this planet, we have not been able to get that kind of a Kenyan. We haven't been able to get that one. The moment we get that one, and I think we will, because we are not doomed. But again, there is another cultural problem we have here. We have normalized evil. We have made it evil normal. We baptized corruption, which is theft. We made it corruption, so it sounds better. So we can engage in it. Even in the languages that we use to define what we do, we have gone low. And this is a result of leadership. You see, what Kenyans need to understand is at the conception of this country, at independent. And I have seen that there are two Kenyans who had an opportunity to assist us, and they both failed. One of them was Jaramogi Odinga. Jaramogi, and he accepted to form the government when he was asked by Kando. This country would be different because alikuwa na Hutu. He had humanity in him. And that's why he would say, I will not do this until the freedom fighters are out. That single refusal to form government then and the surrender to Kenyatta created this culture. Because Kenyatta was about aggrandizement, was a transactional leader, was not a transformation. The other Kenyan we can blame for our problem is the former CNJ, Justice Mutunga. Mutunga had a singular opportunity to implement Article 73 of the Constitution on leadership and integrity. And he stood his ground and convinced his judges that we need to implement this thing to the letter. Article 93 notwithstanding. Because they couldn't have overruled Article 93 and banned Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto from running in 2013. Because they were facing the cases in the Hague. Again, this country may very well have taken a different trajectory of respecting the rule of law and respecting Article 73, leadership and integrity, Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Again, he failed us. So there are these exceptionally good people, two of them, who basically had an opportunity to shape the history of Kenya, but they failed. So you can see that one person determined to do the right thing can actually change society. So Nyerere was one person. Jesus was one person with only 12 disciples, but he transformed society then, because you can imagine when you look at Jesus' philosophy of love and salvation in a colonial state where hatred ruled, but he was strong enough to say that we can turn the other cheek to the Romans who are colonizing them. That strength of character is what we are lacking as a people, and that is what we are looking for.
Dibal, I said here when I talked about the people, and I know that Mr. Green said now you had asked the right question. I believe that the question now and where we are is where we should have all been at. The people that we are talking about and the people that you are talking about in Malawi, the day Kenyans will decide on what kind of leader they want and whether they want a leader who can get them out of their poverty, out of their hopelessness, that day they will put in place in State House that leader. So this statement that my brother Haman is making and my brother Mr. Green is making, there will be no leader that will arrive in State House different from us if it will not be because we have placed that leader there. So the burden of what kind of Kenya we have rests with us, the people, rests with us, the leader, the electorates. Unfortunately for us, it will take us a very long time. Why? When I listen to our politics, whether you are in Tharaka-Nithi, whether you are in Migori, whether you are in Turkana, whether you are in Rift Valley or Western or Nyanza, wherever it is, the kind of people we are looking for are not the Nyereres, are not the Sankaras. We are looking for our chiefs, our tribal chiefs. And those chiefs were never known for transforming us. They were only known for loading it on us.
I think Martin also loses the point. The point we were trying to make of this, I think that's where we were. The things are so bad in this country. He talks of us being on a cliff.
Yes.
And we are about to lose this country. Honestly, this is how we must look at these things, Martin. We are about to lose our country.
So
that's where we were. Look, even just narrowing down to the rot in government. Theft, what, like he says, we are calling corruption, which is just theft. So the question was, how are we going to get out of this? And he was trying to say, somebody's coming up with legislation. And I said, laws will not help. This thing has gotten to a point where no law will help. People are, the theft is almost in their DNA. I remember Uhuru saying this from Israel, that Kenya now wizi ni kitu moja. So then I said there are only two ways out. One, because of the madness, people are mad in this country, there will be a revolution. But then the same people, Kenyans, must be prepared to take the time it takes to rebuild. Because a revolution destroys. Are you ready for 50, 30, 20, 100 years? And then I said there was another way out. And that is through a leader. Let me tell you this, Martin. One man or woman in State House, he just lands like this, and the first breakfast meeting with the press, the country will know this is not the same country. This country is where it is because we don't have seriousness. We are not serious with any single thing we do. Once the president sends the signal, this Kenya is a different place. Now, this leader can be born out of the first situation, which is destructive, which is a revolution. The people of Kenya in 2027, 2032 can realize, like he says, they have the power, and you said yourself, not actually him, you, that they have the power to change the situation. So long as they engage in this seesaw, this politician about this one, they will never get, they will get a different person in the manner he suggests happened in Malawi. And I can assure you, Martin, the people of this country, sooner than you may imagine, because you are saying a long, long time, the people of this country will may realize that they can change the situation
But I also
by
think,
identifying a man or woman
I'll be
to take to State House.
I also think
who will
Martin,
change this country.
I also
Allow me
think
to mention
Martin
this
is
short
reflecting
one.
Kenyans.
Martin is being realistic.
I also think Martin,
Martin thinks what you say is very idealistic.
How?
That will not really happen in this country.
How?
At
Let me
this time
say
and date.
this.
That's why I say it will really take a long
I-
time
I
for it
also
to happen.
I also
precedents
think
here
Martin
that
is
I
not looking
allow
at
me
the
to-
Kenyans
yeah.
properly. Let me tell you this. Kenyans are actually, they are looking for that leader. Look at the last election. The president today, he was our knight in shining armor during the campaign. He told us the exploitation by dynasties of last 60 years is coming to an end. People listened, and the people supported him. So you can't really say that people listened. It's just that the president, upon assuming power, he has completely become somebody totally different. The William Ruto, the candidate, is not now William Ruto, the president.
That's what
Okay,
I'm telling you.
let me
that
mention-
so,
let me mention
Let
this.
him finish it. We hear from Dr. Have you finished? Okay, let's say from Dr.
Okay, let me say this with all respect. When President Moi, in his leadership, realized that there was going to be a coup, there was a threat to his presidency. Soon after, his style of leadership changed. President Ruto, my president, has now seen, and he continues to see, when it is just about a year before into his leadership, this is the time to change and do something extraordinary. Kenyans, we will not wait like my brother suggests, and which is an ideal situation, until a time that we will get the right person in State House. The right person is already in State House because God placed him there. I talked of being placed into the world like a fish. Wewe ndio unaweza ukajitoa pale. It is him to be able to deal with the current situation in the best way possible. Change because there's a threat. We are losing lives. People are dying. The economic situation is terrible. He has good ideas. He has plans that he is doing together with his good people. But inside there are people who are not in the same agenda with him. There are people who are looking for other things. So he can change and move on in a direction and change this country in the best way possible. And I believe he's doing it. But is there good communication?
No.
All right. So what Dr. Kalua is saying, an octopus is just as good as its tentacles.
Exactly.
Yeah, if the tentacles are,
I appreciate what he's saying, but it's not, I guess, from a governance perspective, let me say this. And William Ruto, the day he entered that State House and formed that government, and he told the country that we were in a tight corner, so I'm having a cabinet of 14. We're having principal secretary 14. I'm forming a lean government because without arresting government expenditure, I will not be able to solve your problem. I'm telling you, even if you told us to pay taxes 100%, we will pay because we will support our president, because we want our president to succeed. But then when you look at the policies, and what these businesses which are living in the country, that's what they are looking, because the policy can tell you the end result 5 years or 10 years from now. The policy pronouncement right now will tell you what will happen in 5 years. You see, what people need to understand is government actually works for 3 years out of 5. The first year, that, second and third. The fourth year and the fifth is basically election mood are set in. So we start electioneering. So the deliverance is supposed to be, you make a good policy day one, you become our hero, and we transform you. The reason why people are competing to pay taxes and Kibaki is because when he came, he said, look, we need to get rid of these gasolers, 2,000 cc maximum. Ministers are going to have 2 cars. Principal secretary is permanent secretary, then 1 car. You are not going to have education budget. I want it all returned to the ministries because you hired you, because you are competent, you are educated. Then he said if you are going to have a seminar or a meeting and your boardroom cannot contain that meeting. Government institution, that's where you are supposed to be. Okay? Those initial pronouncement policies of Kibaki, they brought a whole wind of support. They changed our psyche to the extent that we are voted the happiest people
On earth.
yes, the happiest people. We are voted the happiest people on earth.
Then
Pronouncement, initial pronouncement. So for those who are familiar with the cows, I don't know how many people have cows here. There is something we say about the cow when it has been given in birth. If it doesn't have that cholesterol, that initial milk, it will not have the final milk when it's going out. And that is why the people around our president, because he is in the city, these people are not serving him. But I'm also sure if he has taken into account one cardinal principle of being a CEO, and that cardinal principle is you avoid 100% of being the most intelligent person in that room, because when that happens, you will never move. You can't move.
But listening to Dr. Kalua, it sounds like the president is actually held at a ransom with his cabals
There's
around
the
it.
people around
And
it.
he's the executive.
Within a minute,
He
let
can
me tell
call
you
shots,
this.
and he chooses the people that he wants to
In a
work
minute,
with.
let
Yes,
me tell you this. Have you ever traveled in a bus?
of course.
You have. You get into some place after about 3 hours or 2 hours. You get one guy who goes to the driver and says, hey, naomba usimamishe basi nijisaidie. Is he the only person who goes out to do that? Everybody else goes out. We need that one person
In that cabinet.
who will stop the bus. Ask the driver, please stop the bus. Everybody will go out to do what that single
But
person
that is a
does.
call of nature, because it sticks to
Kalua is saying something.
it brings out your hormones actually are heightened.
Yeah.
That you realize now
It's the same
actually
thing about
your blood is full.
Dibale, my good friends here are coming back to where I started. He said that government is the same oppressive, exploitative. So whoever gets in there still does exactly that. So even now, it's still the same system.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I said about lying and the cost of lying, and is exactly debunking what you said, that you saw a star in the campaign. The truth is this: here was a person who was a deputy president in the previous government telling you that he was not in the government, and telling you when it fitted that they had done something, and when it did not fit, he told you that it's because of the handshake. Yes. This is the same person who was promising you change with the dynasty. How could you think that?
No, we
he
are
was
identified
different?
with him.
No, and I agree. Yeah. That's why I'm saying and for that reason, Kenyans must just face what they face. This is what the leadership they put in place. This is the government they have. So usiseme, don't tell us that people are suffering in the village. If they were suffering, they should be out demanding for that they were promised. But as long as they are not asking for it and they are letting these guys sleep pretty, then things are okay.
But that's what we have said.
So
We have said
okay.
the situation will move in that direction. The situation will move the country and the people of this country
And that should be all right, because the Kenyans will be asking.
into looking for solutions.
But the solution is what now we're talking about. Where do we begin? Do we begin in the academia? If Martin here can tell us it will take a longer time, it will not even be during my lifetime to see change in this country.
It's not academia.
This is heartbreaking.
It's not the parliament.
Where do we begin? Where does it begin?
I have said, and I want to repeat maybe for the last time, hopefully, the situation is bad. We all agree. Actually, too bad. This country is in a mess, a total mess. This is one large madhouse. We are all now almost lunatics. And the situation will grow into a revolution because that is the inevitable. Okay? When people can't eat and a few people think they can eat, this many people will eat them. I've given them a very graphic demonstration. Kawangware is next to Lavington. Kibra next to Langata and Karen. Madare next to, where, my friend? Mudaiga. And so on, and you can, why do you think it's like that? So the situation will move into a revolution. Or And this will be the most preferred thing. The people of this country will see they have the power within their hands to change the situation before they lose their country. And that's why I'm saying they will get an individual. Let's look at that individual in terms of what they can do. If, even before that ideal Sankara we are looking about, just an ordinary Dr. Green here, you know, Marty, you, Ryan, Professor here. If you are, let's say, if you exchange roles with President William Ruto today, and you've seen the suffering and the cries of the people of this country, are you telling me there's nothing you can do to change?
You can do a lot.
There's so much you can do to change the situation in the country, the pain, the suffering, the hunger.
In fact, if I were to
I can give you just two quick examples. Look at electricity, which is not just a question of light in your house. It affects many things, including employment, jobs. Because a factory cannot pay electricity. And I want to tell Kenya Power and Lighting and anybody who cares, most of these factory industrial area have bypassed the meter because you can't afford to pay that electricity. You look at the charges on electricity. Some of them don't even make sense. Just look at your bill when you buy a token. Just look at it. By reducing some of these that don't make bill, you reduce electricity by about 40%. That is even before you go to independent power producers with those crazy contracts. By the time you reach the independent power producers, electricity will go down by 70% in this country. Look at fuel, look at diesel, look at petrol, look at the levies and taxes on that. The president can just point at 1, 2, 3 off, and diesel becomes 120 shillings, 130 shillings. Look, there's so much we can do to change the pain and suffering of the people of this country. Before we even go to that Sankara, that ideal leader, the president today can change the entire suffering landscape.
You see, in Dubai, if you were to say to William Ruto here and tell him how to change all of us overnight, first, he starts with a small government, small manageable government. Number two, this is helicopter politics. Okay, you have ministers flying all over the place, and there are vehicles going under on the road to go and pick them when the helicopter lands with the poor people's money. Because if you are so unfit as a minister to go to Naivasha in your vehicle, that you must fly to Naivasha or to Kiambu or even to Meru or to even Mandera, because I would insist that if you are functioning in Mandera, you go 2 days or 1 day earlier, so that you save people's money. So you get a lean government, you get a budget lower than Uhuru Kenyatta's budget.
Yes, correct.
Okay, lower than Uhuru Kenyatta's budget. You look at the last budget and you get a shock to see 44 billion allocated to Parliament. What does Parliament do with that money? They are enriching international airlines. They are enriching international hotels because they must travel outside the country for per diem. Somehow, as a president, I would insist that we find a way of suffering together with the Kenyans as president. You see, if the president today were to do those very simple things, then he insists that all the Kenyans take a 50% salary cut. Believe me, Kenyans will gladly take the 50% salary cut. The one Kalua was saying that if in Burundi it's 10,000, Kenya can also have 10,000. You see, what has happened to us is because of the corruption, you have people increasing your cost of living, increasing inflation. Okay? Because the salaries don't follow international salary structures. You see, what the proper compensation system is one where the highest paid and the lowest, the difference is only 20%.
Yes.
Okay? So the difference for us right now is probably 400 to 500%. You understand? If the president can attack those policy gaps, if we can start, like, I don't know, Kalua who said this, the Kenyans, the rich Kenyans, either working with the government or trade with the government. The richest are not entrepreneurs and those who produce. Then what you are doing, you are manufacturing poverty. So if the president right now starts attacking those structural deficiencies within our setup, he will transform himself to our
You see,
you
Dubai.
will become that
Yeah.
knight in shining armor,
Okay.
the one who we are looking for.
Okay.
Martin does not agree.
Martin seems to be a bit
let's hear him.
doubtful.
Please,
of
let's
that.
hear.
But Martin, before we even go there,
Yeah.
Chakwera, whom we are actually also talking about, when he came to power, he had clearing the rubble mentality, as he says, that he desired to clear the rubble. And in a few short months already, he led to a serial investigation into past governments, dubious deals, first of all, and suspicious contracts being suspended. Of course, he had all the backing of his party. And also his ability to move with speed was reinforced by the independent judiciary. So he's working in tandem with the judiciary. Already, we can see there is a discernible difference from different facets of Malawi as it is. First of all, where does it
Shalem
begin?
Assembly.
Where we are held ransom by dubious contracts.
Yeah.
Yes,
You're
yes.
talking about IPP.
Yeah.
We're talking about SGR. Some
Expressway.
legislators, they say we've paid, we've finished paying. We are talking about deals that even the president himself promised during campaigns will be laid bare.
Yes.
But even as we see the administration, some of the deals are being made government to government, and people are questioning, especially even the petroleum deals, especially also with the port deals as well. They want to put things put on the table so that we know
Transparency.
transparency, communication.
Article 10.
You know, Dibal, I hear and I love what I'm hearing, but you sound like the strangers in Jerusalem.
You're saying this is purely
Our
academic.
Jerusalem is very clear. It's very, very clear. The president
always have
and
a
this
doubting
government
Thomas in
will
Jerusalem.
not
Take
do
our
what you are
finishes.
asking. The first time he tried it, remember when he came in, he said, "Oh, we are not going to we are cutting back the budget by 300 million,
Billion.
and what billion, million, 300 million or something." Nothing, none of it
Oh,
happened.
300
None of-
300.
It was million. No, 300. He
It was
cut
300
back.
million.
He
Yeah, it was
reduced the
300
million.
million.
Yeah,
Million.
yeah, million.
It was million. It was million, not billion.
Not billion. The point I'm making was that in that statement, nothing was followed through, but life went back to normal. In fact, he said he will not borrow. Borrowing went at a supersonic speed. So there's nothing that you, and in fact, I wish all those things you said were in his manifesto, which they were not. So he didn't promise those things, he can't deliver them now. What we are saying is
You're
this,
in the technical bit of the manifesto.
that the issue about our country right now, and Jimmy Wanjigi has been talking about just simple things. I wish even we started from there. So what is our debt? And how do we pay, and how does it reduce, or how does it not reduce? The most blotted or the most glaring ghost we have, forget about ghost workers, is the ghost of debt. Because if the Auditor General himself,
They really
herself,
know that, yeah.
yeah, if the Auditor General is saying they don't understand it.
They don't have an accurate figure
They don't
yet.
yet.
You know,
It's a
they
moving
really
target.
know
No, but you see, the point I'm making is
Make the
we
point
are
quickly.
told, we
Yes.
are told that 2/3 of the money we collect is
stolen.
repaying debt.
That's yes.
Now, and you are saying there's no debt, and everybody is saying, including the Auditor General, that we don't seem to touch a finger on
where this debt is.
this where which book has it, and how we pay it, how we draw it down, or how we reduce it. Now, for me, this country just needs housekeeping.
At one time, nilikutumia
Housekeeping.
Just housekeeping.
Yes, yes.
But to do housekeeping, it means that you have to have the will to so do.
But first
Yeah,
you
you
need a
have to
house.
will.
But yeah. No, we have a house. We have a house. There is a house. That's why we can talk about debt here. We can talk of things there.
Yeah.
We can even talk of those difficulties because we are in a system. We have a system that could not be working for all of us.
Yes.
The question I have, and the interesting thing is, are the Kenyans really serious in wanting to see their country better? If they were, then we would be seeing it. Where is your Kenyan? No. In fact, you are not a Kenyan. Because you are when we are looking for ordinary Kenyans, they don't belong here.
I think the bar. I think Martin is some of those people who are said to be sleeping through a revolution.
I'm waiting.
He's saying the Kenyan you have in mind, Martin, is not the Kenyan we have today. That was the Kenyan of yesterday.
Where is he?
The suffering is so real.
Yes.
The pain is so real in this country that it may be the only thing perhaps we needed to end the tribalism. Because as we speak today, that old woman in Nyeri is feeling the pain like that old woman in Migori. And they know where the pain is coming from. I've been telling our leaders, we have what we call consciousness. If you look at our history from the struggle for independence, do you think the ordinary people were really bothered about colonialism?
No, they didn't even know
In fact,
about
they
it.
admired Mzungu.
Yeah, they didn't even
They
know
admired
about it.
Mzungu. It is a few people who are agitating for independence because they were informed.
Yes.
That has been the case through the second liberation, the struggle by the Jaramogis, Matibas, and then Young Turks, Raila, Orengo, Imanyara, and the rest. Then we have kept the same pace, the same strategy, by the same people, the same class, struggle for the constitution of Kenya, and the struggle to implement that constitution, and the failures thereof. But there is a shift now. It is a consciousness of the people.
There's a shift.
So when you see the
where
people,
is the
listen,
evidence?
just a moment. When you see the people in the streets, and I want government to listen to this, it's not Raila and activists, Mother Karua and the rest who are sending them there. The people are there, as it has been observed correctly by a number of people, because of the pain. And anytime, listen, and anytime throughout history, when it is the people, not a small clique of people who are conscious, when the consciousness is from the people that they are suffering, regimes have always rolled. You can play with a few activists, politicians, and others, but you cannot play with the people who have become conscious of the pain and they know where the pain is coming from. That is where this country is today. That the ordinary man and woman in Kenya, one is suffering terribly for the high cost of living, because of hunger and all those kind of things. Secondly, and more important, he's aware and is conscious of where the pain is coming from. And the next step is what I'm calling action. Action by getting so mad and you break everything around, which is like a revolutionary way of changing things, or action by way of knowing they have just the power to get one individual. And I've told you, when one individual lands in the State House and the Kenyans know this is a no-nonsense man, you will not even see the traffic. You know the story of Murtala Mohammed in Nigeria.
7 months, less than 7 months.
When people just heard Murtala Mohammed had become president in a coup, and they knew him,
The lions.
everything just, you couldn't know Lagos was Lagos. Everything was, the traffic was flowing for the first time. Nani amechukua serikali? Murtala Mohammed, my friend.
You see,
Everything just changed.
you see,
That's what I'm telling you.
Let's hear from
I
that side.
am
Yeah.
telling
Those are very
you.
temporary
I am
solutions.
telling you.
Let me-
And that's
No,
why
and
I've
it
been
lasted,
pointing.
and it
That's why
did.
I've been
It
saying.
has not been
That's why I've been
No,
saying.
they
Just
can
as I
make-
finish. That's why I've been saying. Over breakfast, after you are sworn in, you don't want to say eat the Bible. After you have been sworn in Kasarani or wherever it is, the first breakfast meeting with the press, the new president.
You use a threat.
Kenyans wakisikia, this is not the man, people we are. This is a different man. Kenya will change.
You know, you
Doctor,
guys want to work
let
with
me-
fear
let me- let
and
me-
scaremongering.
No.
Right, let's hear
You're
from
celebrating.
just a moment. Let me tell you, I want to tell you of a very, very honorable community in the world that is called the Kamba community. Very respected. They have a saying, and I'm going to teach you this saying. It says, Kembu kienda kabola ni kwa mwingi. A chameleon moves very slowly because it doesn't have a chaser. If you touch the tail of a chameleon, just touching like this,
It will move.
you will not believe that was the same chameleon. It will fly. The situation that we are in right now is a situation of a chameleon that has got a chaser. If we cannot see what is happening in Kenya today and take it seriously, then we are
sleeping through a
failing.
revolution.
Exactly. And necessity is actually the mother of invention. We need to start thinking what we can be able to do. I have said it umpteenth time. Kenya, everything is right save for the politics. Now we have a chaser that shows how dangerous playing with fire can ever be. We have given examples that are enough. And you don't know why I'm saying this, because I also don't know why I'm saying this. Because I pray every day that God may use me at any point to be the change that that needs to be. And therefore, we need to take these things seriously. The industrialists in this country are very serious. The business people, they are serious eco-entrepreneurs that if they are allowed to run their business with a clear environment, this country will change. I'll give you a very tiny example, and I'm very small in the industry. We make motorcycles, 180 per day. We are supposed, the law on motorcycles gives us an opportunity to be able to have 7 parts, 14 parts made locally. Having seen the way it is, capacity was built, and we took some people from Kamukunji to come and train them, and we got the Japanese team to start working with them. They already are doing that, and I am sure very soon we will start buying parts from them because they have the capacity of doing that. Imagine the number of things that Kenyans can do, industrialists, to support the community that is here, to support the Juakali sector, to support the boda sector. And those things are available. It needs somebody to stop the bus, as I said before. Tuende tujisaidie, tuende tufanye kazi, and that is what we really need. Kenya is such a great country. If everyone does their role, it will be totally different.
What you want me to stop the bus so that he can pee? Let me allow him to pee now.
It is Mamishwa. If the bus is stopped and then they all disembark and nobody comes back to the bus, there's a problem. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of what my colleagues are saying happen. But I think my understanding of this country is informed by its politics. And when you look at Ukambani, or when you look at any part of this country, Nyanza or Western, its politics defines what its view of leadership is. So we do have a long way to think as one country. Therefore, we do have a long way to think about what is this one leader that can cut across. And that's a fact. These issues you are telling me are good, but anywhere where power or change has been made through authoritarian or through one-person leadership, that change does not last long enough. And that's my problem. The culture has not changed because of abrupt or what they call culture shock or shock therapy. No, it's a long time. So when we look at the Orientals, and you're quoting it here, when you look at the Japanese, you look at the Chinese, there is honor among the people. Honor. So that if you fail, you are even the first one to go and commit suicide. There is no lying in the face of things. There's no, so there's a place where the people have an established way of life, and that defines their politics. And that defines how then they also build up their country and so on. So hard work, and you are better off than anybody else here to tell us about hard work in Japan. It defines the ethic. Here, hard work does not pay. Just like this professor will tell you that education, the higher you're educated, or the higher you grow in the education ranks, does not equal money. The people who get money in this country do not need an education. In fact, some of them tell you very clearly that, why go? You can go to get an E and you continue with your life. And then we don't justify how we make our wealth. Our wealth is, again, when you look at what, William Tunga talked about a bandit economy, is that you just carry as much as you can carry. You don't have to create, you don't have to bake it, you just reap it. Today, we are having a system that isn't producing for us wealth. Employment is shrinking. We are now loading on every employee taxes, and we're not caring about it. It's not like it's bothering us that the more taxes you impose, the less you'll collect, and the less employers will want to employ more staff, and the less they'll want to generate to even manufacturing and so on. So we are saying people are walking away. Businesses are walking away from this country. They are going. You saw that Kenyans are buying petrol from Tanzania and so on,
and Uganda
and on the other side we say we want to open our border with Somalia. Now, sugar is so cheap in Somalia. When it arrives in Mandera, it will find its way here, and then we can load it on, the Kenyan market at the Kenyan price, and we make the money. So basically, we are running a bandit economy. I mean, there's no order to this.
And that's why you need one individual.
That individual.
And the madness.
Where will that individual come from? That's my problem.
Right.
And
That's why we were talking about Lazarus Chakwera. We need to be winding up.
From what he just said about this taxation and all that, this is how you can actually look at this finance bill. For me, it amounts to somebody rearranging furniture in a burning house. Because you see, when a house is on fire, it's pointless to rearrange furniture. Just put the fire out first. Today, this is how bad the situation is. You see, majority of these Kenyans are working in bars and restaurants. Do you know how much they get per day? 300 shillings. That 300 shillings now is not enough to feed their children that particular day. So them and their children must skip a meal in order to get the 300 from the following day, so that is 600. Then now is enough to buy unga and some mboga. This is how bad the situation is. And unless you can go in there, go talk to some of those people and feel that pain, you will never produce a finance bill like the one before us now. That's what I'm saying, is simply rearranging furniture in a burning.
That's why I asked him, when you say housekeeping, and ask him, there's no house. The house is on fire.
But it's there.
The house is on fire.
It's there. We can put out the fire.
Look,
the house
you
is there.
rearrange furniture in a house,
When
you should
is
be running away.
or at least go put the fire out.
But
now you are busy rearranging.
But on a very serious note,
We're supposed to be winding up.
yeah,
So, yeah,
but on a
briefly.
very serious note, the problems we face are not big problems as a country to change. Look at these mandamanos and the loss of life, which we just taken life to be very casual.
Casual, too cheap.
We can end this thing if we chose to be serious. That theme of a country made up of people who know what a country requires and who are serious. The president needs to be the president of this country. All that we need to change all this and stop this death and this madness is a president to be the president of Kenya. Once you are the president, you know you are the bigger brother. You always calm down. And Moi put it better than anybody could put it. He said, being president is a difficult job. Men provoke you. People insult you. People do all manner of things. People scheme against you. If you get annoyed, you'll destroy the country. That is President Moi. That is what Ruto ought to know. And not to listen to these cheap sycophants, young junior juvenile politicians. He should know he's a big brother and must climb down for the sake of this country, for the sake of his name, and for the sake of history. Climbing down means you tell everybody around you. You start with Gachagua, who is my friend. Ambia, hakuna mdomo kutoka leo. Hii mambo mahali imefika, muachie mimi niongee. Then next, you look for Raila. And you, like he said, you sit down. Sitting down with Raila does not mean there is no Sumukate. In fact, the mention of handshake or no Sumukate will offend Kenyans so badly.
Very
Nobody
badly.
in this country
Very
wants
badly.
to hear anything about it. So it's not about no Sumukate. And Raila has also made it. It's just about saying we are about to lose a country we all love. What do we do? And on that table that Orengo calls the table of brotherhood, answers will be found to steer this country forward. Beginning with the two sitting,
Thank you.
and then Kenyans sitting and having a national conversation.
We need to wind up.
In short, we need to
This
stop
man has
behaving.
woken up. He's
We
woken
need to
up.
stop behaving like there is another animal. I don't know what it is called in English. This animal doesn't like getting wet. So when it starts raining, it look for the nearest body of water to go in to avoid getting wet.
Today you have given us a lot of nice things.
So we need to stop.
This is the man of the slum, the man of the cow.
Our government need to stop that
I know that
mentality.
animal.
Okay, you need to stop that mentality of that animal. You see the threat now you are hearing and all that. People will not hit the threat as long as they are hungry. That amount to throwing yourself in the river or in the ocean to avoid getting wet
Yes.
from the rain.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We need to wind up. Let's just get our closing remarks. In fact, there's a friend of mine called Nicky saying, this guy apewe chai ya mandazi. Chai na mandazi. He's a good leader. Utapatia mandazi hapa. Your closing remarks.
No, it's been a good conversation, and perhaps whoever is listening to us, we are asking ourselves, what will it take for us to have a difference in our leadership? And I'm saying that it must be a collective effort from where we all sit to know what is our problem and therefore to find a solution. One person sitting up there may not do it, but one person sitting out there with our support and our taxes and our acceptance might just do it. For now, we have challenges in the country, and we must face the challenges.
Thank you.
We have issues.
Dr. Kalou,
we must face the issues.
We must face the issues. Your closing remarks, briefly.
I want to mention that maybe we need to get the government to stop responding to everything. Right now, it does not matter who is right or who is wrong. We need to focus. And I think we cannot have a better person who is so hard, a serious motoriot from the community that he comes from, a respected person, very firm, and maybe that is why he's making it this far, who can now take a direction to be in total control. Let us deal as soon as possible in tightening our expenditure in the government. This takes very serious move. Let us make sure we support the institutions that are concerned, including KRA, to be given as much money as possible to ensure that we expand the tax base, and let us tighten matters of corruption, so that everyone who is corrupt is dealt with in the best way possible, so that we can protect our country. We have a hope, and God is with us.
What I truly wish is that our leaders read Article 10 and let patriotism be the defining factor in the policies that they are making.
Thank you. Professor Haman Manyola.
I want the president to lead the country onto a table to have a national conversation, to establish a national charter to see us forward. In order for that to happen, the president and his government must stop thinking that you can stop people if they are demanding their rights. You can't stop. If you think you can use the police to stop people, you will end up getting ugly and uglier scenes, more and more lives. And the world today, Dubai, is laughing at us. How we can be losing human beings in such a senseless manner when the issues that we are dealing with are so petty. We don't have serious issues. Like I've said before, the bus I wind up. There are countries with the problems which, if you are told to deal with, you run away. Our problems are not that big. We can sit down as Kenyans, talk. And for that to happen, government must stop thinking that you can stop people once they become conscious of their rights. And conscious of who is causing the problem. And finally, when they actualize that in terms of action, like you are seeing in the streets, the best way is not to think you can brutally stop them. It is the time to start talking.
Thank you. It's time to start
Stop
talking.
guarding the slum.
We've been calling for a national conversation. I want just to end that particular debate. I think it has been very massive and insightful. Thank you very much. And we hope that we are awakening the conscience of Kenyans as well towards good leadership, that they can be able to choose for themselves a person of nobility of character who will be in that particular office as well. I want to thank you for your valid company. I want to thank you also for your good company. Gentlemen, I really appreciate your input this morning.
The value of the best.
Uongozi Today. Thank you very much, and God bless you. His diary is up next.
Thank you.